If you've been playing along with the Russian news, you've been getting lied to, manipulated, and used. I guarantee this video will be proof. If you like the truth, watch the whole thing. If you like being lied to, then maybe this video is not for you. I'm going to show you the truth, not with Fox News, not with Trump supporters who don't pay attention and love everything he does. I'm going to show you people that don't like Trump, that are huge Trump critics, that are Democrats, that are Bernie Sanders supporters, that are mainstream media, CNN workers. Let's start with the progressive Jimmy Dore.
I just want to talk about the Russia thing that's been going on, right? So you know how we feel about it here at the Jimmy Dore Show, is that it's a big distraction that's being implemented by the Democrats and the establishment to distract us from the real problems of our country and the real problems that were inside the Democratic Party and their last campaign. So because they do stuff like this, they've been reporting stuff like this is from CNN. And at the top, it says Intel analysis shows Putin approved election hacking. That's what it says. The Intel analysis shows Putin approved election hacking. That's what it says. But if you look at the end of the article, because most people only read headlines, but if you go all the way down to the end of the article, at the bottom it says, but neither of the sources said they knew of specific intelligence that directly ties Putin to the attack. So that's the kind of shit that's been going on for months now, since the election. This has been going on. This kind of reporting rumor. It doesn't even rise to the level of an accusation, which is what Richard Engel said on Rachel Maddow's show. And then Rachel Maddow responded with, well, it doesn't have to be true to blackmail you. And she brushed it under the rug and kept reporting that bullshit, right? And, here is Chuck Todd, America's #1 newsman. And... He is. And so here he's interviewing.
Does intelligence exist that can definitively answer the following question, whether there were improper contacts between the Trump campaign and Russian officials?
We did not include any evidence in our report, and I say our, that's NSA, FBI, and CIA with my office, the Director of National Intelligence, that had any reflection of collusion between members of the Trump campaign and the Russians. There was no evidence of that included in our report.
I understand that, but
so no.
I understand what you just said, but I need to keep asking you questions until I get the answer that I need. Yeah.
He's laughing at you because that was literally the intelligence agency's leader telling you that they have no evidence. Next is Pulitzer Prize winner, journalist, and huge Trump critic Glenn Greenwald.
It was taken seriously by the CIA, by the Central Intelligence Agency. Doesn't that elevate it above gossip?
Right. So the CIA is an agency that has repeatedly got caught lying in the past. It's designed to disseminate propaganda, and they're currently in open warfare with the person who was just elected president of the United States. They were behind Hillary Clinton's campaign. So let's focus on the extraordinary behavior of the Washington Post for the moment. They have produced two of the most humiliating debacles in American journalism over the last several years, and these two humiliations have taken place just within the last 6 weeks, both of which were about completely fictitious and fabricated claims about the threat posed by Vladimir Putin and Russia. The first was on November 24th when they claimed, based on a newly formed anonymous group, that there has been a very widespread, successful effort to implant Kremlin propaganda in the American discourse. And they accomplished this by giving credence to the secret list that this anonymous group of cowards had created, in which they claimed that a whole range of American media outlets and websites, such as the Drudge Report and other libertarian critics of Hillary Clinton on the right, and longstanding left-wing critics of the Democratic Party like Naked Capitalism and Truth Out and Truth Dig on the left, they decreed them to be tools of Kremlin propaganda. And the Washington Post created this huge story that went all over the place based upon giving credence to this list and saying that Russian propaganda had been viewed more than 200 million times in the United States. Journalists all over Twitter throughout the American media mindlessly spread it, aggressively endorsed it. It became a huge story, and over the course of the next 2 weeks, the story completely collapsed, and there's now a major editor's note footnote at the top of the article disclaiming the key source, saying that they did not intend to in any way vouch for the validity of the findings of the source on which the entire story was based. But even more embarrassing was this weekend when the Post trumpeted this story on Friday night that Vladimir Putin and Russia had hacked into the electric grid of the United States through a Vermont utility, which caused Vermont officials like the governor and Senator Pat Leahy to issue statements saying Vladimir Putin is trying to endanger the safety and the welfare of Vermonters by stealing their heat in the winter. The whole story, from start to finish, turned out to be a complete fabrication. There was no invasion of the American electric grid. The malware that was found on one laptop had nothing to do with Russia. The story was completely false. And again, the American media in this hysteria kept spreading and endorsing it. And in both cases, the retractions were barely noted. So you have millions of people being misled into this hysteria, into this view that Russia is this grave threat. And when the story journalistically collapses, they barely hear about it. And it happened over and over through the election, with Slate saying that a secret server had been found between Donald Trump and a Russian bank, which turned out to be completely false. The Post aired allegations that Putin had poisoned Hillary Clinton on the day that she collapsed on 9/11. And so it's not really just dishonesty. It's the kind of behavior we saw in 2002, where American media outlets are willing to publish anything that the U.S. government tells them to publish to inflate and expand the threat posed by Russia, to raise fear levels to the highest possible degree. And it's an incredibly irresponsible and dangerous form of behavior that media outlets led by the Washington Post are engaging in.
None of these people even like Trump, and they're trying to tell you the truth, but people won't listen. It's so weird, especially when Hillary Clinton herself sold 20% of the United States uranium to Russia, to Vladimir Putin. This isn't a conspiracy. The New York Times, a mainstream media source, even published this.
Enormous amounts of money have flowed to the Clintons.
The president's made more than $100 million?
Some of that money lands in their pocket. Some of it lands in their foundation. As a lot of that money comes from the darkest corners of the world, you have a foreign government that wants something from the State Department while Hillary Clinton is Secretary of State. Well, the Russians want to buy 20% of U.S. uranium production. And for this transaction to go through, it needs to be signed off by Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. The Russian government was funneling money through a subsidiary directly to the Clinton Foundation. Clinton gets more than $100 million in donations, but the payday didn't end there. Before Hillary Clinton's State Department would sign off on the Russian purchase of Uranium-1, Bill Clinton got paid $500,000 to give a single speech in Moscow. And Hillary Clinton says, I think this is a good deal. Let's let Vladimir Putin take control of what is now 20% of U.S. uranium production. It's not a coincidence. Money exchanges hands and favors are done.
If you've been paying attention, South Korea's president recently got impeached. Impeached for doing way less than Hillary Clinton has done. She got impeached for using her political position to pressure companies to give millions of dollars to her nonprofit. This is exactly what the Clinton Foundation has been caught doing. They got millions of dollars from Saudi Arabia. She was doing $500,000 Wall Street speeches. The only difference is the citizens in South Korea are paying attention, and half the citizens in America are being misled and brainwashed. This next clip is from Barack Obama when he was president, getting caught on a hot mic that he didn't know was recording him with somebody from Russia.
My last election, after my election, I have more flexibility.
I understand. I transmit this information to Vladimir and understand.
What makes it even dumber that people still believe this, that it's public knowledge, mainstream knowledge, that China has hacked us multiple times. Did you ever hear a public outcry about that? No, because they don't care. They're only using this for fodder for a whole different agenda. Not to mention that the last administration spied on the German chancellor. The intelligence community spied on Congress. This isn't a conspiracy. These are mainstream sources telling you. This is Jake Tapper from CNN telling you. This next video is Green Party candidate Jill Stein explaining what Hillary Clinton would have done if she won.
The promise was made to Gorbachev, the leader of the Soviet Union, that NATO would not move 1 inch to the east of Berlin. Well, since then, NATO has been steadily moving
to essentially surround Russia. Now we're conducting war games around Russia. We are dropping fake nuclear weapons in Nevada, preparing for this potential nuclear war, which Hillary Clinton is begging to start. And let's just be clear what it is that Hillary Clinton's policy on Russia is. It is essentially a virtual declaration of war. That is what will happen if Hillary Clinton proceeds with her plan to create a no-fly zone. That means we are shooting down Russian aircraft over Syria.
This is Democratic leader Chuck Schumer meeting with Putin. All politicians talk to all countries. This isn't new. All people are connected. All of this information is available. They literally just prey on people being so stupid, even though the information and the truth is right in front of their face, that they could get away with lying. And people continue to play along with this dumb game. She doesn't even like Donald Trump either, but everybody's trying to explain the truth to you, but nobody wants to listen. It's so weird. Putin has said multiple times that he respects the United States.
Ну, сегодня, наверное, единственная супердержава. Мы это принимаем. Мы хотим и готовы работать с Соединенными Штатами. И как бы там ни происходили эти выборы, в конце концов они состоятся. Что США представляют для нас угрозу. Вот президент Обама, как вы сказали, считает Россию угрозой. Я не думаю, что США для нас представляет угрозу. Я думаю, что политика правящих кругов, как, извините, употреблю такой штамп, политика правящих кругов, она является ошибочной.
The Russian propaganda in this country has gotten so bad that yesterday the FBI launched an investigation on InfoWars and Breitbart. They said they're looking for ties to Russia. This is getting ridiculous. Any news source that doesn't agree with them and doesn't agree with their lies is now up for an investigation. I hope they don't group me in that category because I literally use news sources they control, CNN, Washington Post, and New York Times, to show that the Russia propaganda is not real. They say it in their own news sources, yet they're going to investigate Breitbart and InfoWars for telling the truth sometimes. Hillary Clinton, the global powers that run the world, and the Democratic Party had an idea for what they wanted to happen. They lost the election, and now they're freaking out. They're freaking out so much that they could literally lie to people every single day, and there's still millions of people who say, Russia. I don't like Donald Trump because he hacked the election with Russia. There's millions of people who believe this. Whether you like Donald Trump's policies, whether you like him as a person or not, this Russia news is a complete fraud, a complete fabrication, and it's getting sillier and sillier by the day that people still believe this.
Watch me living out the system, yeah, I stretch like every day. I be all about my fitness, keep my mind about the stress, so I always beat my sickness. I don't trust no corporation, cause they lie like politicians. I don't